For centuries, knowledge has been hidden in plain sight across the sands of time. Whispers of lost civilizations, cryptic symbols, and forbidden histories have been erased or concealed. What if the truth was never lost, but hidden? Welcome to Eye of Ancient Mysteries, where the past speaks and the future listens. Sit back, open your mind, and prepare to uncover the untold secrets of our world. Let the journey begin now. Petting Zoo Roderick looked at the sky. It was blue, but a little cloudy. The air was hot and thick with the scent of dust. "Come over here, kids," said the training cyborg, though the invitation wasn't meant for him. Tyrannosaurus Rex was created by a socially inept boy. The cyborg continued, who used 6 make-a-creature kits. Actually, it was 16 and fraudulently took part of his father's replication materials. With that amount of... It had taken him more than 2 weeks of daily work at the cost of 2 vans charged to his mother's account, along with various other things of unknown purpose that he'd had at his disposal. During the final week, he let Rex out for a nightly stroll to see what he would come across. People had quickly noticed livestock was missing. Yes, they had already noticed. While he was parking his air bike in front of the barn, Rex peeked through one of the windows and said, "I've spent all day hiding." And Roderick had muttered to himself, "Wanna ride?" One of the little girls tugged on his sleeve. Despite the limits of his speech barriers, Rex remarked, "You'll get a ride, child." She wasn't ready yet. He strained to soften the growling tenor of his voice, hoping not to sound too threatening. At that moment, Roderick activated the AC on his suit and shivered slightly. The day should have been cool, even cold, with a light breeze for him to fight against while flying his air bike just under the treetops, tracking the trail of land vehicles. The barn should have been cold too, cold and dusty, with sunlight streaming between the warped and dented aluminum panels, catching the dancing specks in the air. Rex growled again, maybe because he'd grown even bigger, and his smooth skin looked like glass, like ice, under which well-oiled muscles slithered like snakes. Roderick had fallen, and Rex had picked him up, grabbing him under the arms that looked so thin compared to his own, larger and stronger than any grown man's hands, then said, "That's what they're for," and placed him on his shoulders while Roderick's legs tried to wrap around the thick, pulsing neck. Roderick opened the large barn doors from inside, and after crawling out, stood up. It wasn't about height. Each day he rose higher with his air bike, nor was it about the swift, swaying progress he made above the tree crowns, red, gold, and green, which seemed to follow Rex's head as it floated above the dark lawn strewn with fallen leaves. It was because of... He shook himself out of the thought. He couldn't find the right word. Power. Anyone could buy that at a dollar store, in the form of a shiny disc that could power a home skiff for over 3 years or spin a drill forever. Dominion. That control people had over their dogs, while their own sheep were legally kept. Dogs had 4 front teeth, and they were so small they didn't even look dangerous. Each tooth in Rex's mouth was longer than his arm, and he could easily crunch an air car. No, it wasn't height. He'd often flown above trees, even taller ones. He still heard the rustling leaves below and the sound of an invisible air current. Maybe it was the noise. Not the best guess, but it felt closer to the truth than the others. Maybe it was the snapping of thick branches and the crash of falling trees. Yes, most likely the sound of movement, the crash and splintering of wood. To some extent, it was the noise. He caused a lot of the damage, said the training cyborg, and his female assistant nodded in agreement. Worse yet, he terrified hundreds of people. Sitting on Rex's shoulders, Roderick could speak almost directly into his ears. "Growl," the boy ordered. The Tyrannosaurus growl shook the ground. "Keep growling!" And he did. The reddish and white cattle that Rex occasionally ate barely moved on their short legs. Too fat to run faster. One even got trampled. People also ran when he tipped over a shed and the tractor next to it for fun. Then he shoved it deep into the nearby swamp, crossed the river ford without slowing down. On the northern bank, there were some buildings, and the people there really fled. They all ran, all but one old man with thick mustaches who stared at them with bulging eyes. Either too old or too scared to run, Roderick thought. He looked down at him and waved, then their eyes met, and suddenly, it was as if something started spinning inside the old man's head. Roderick could read his thoughts. Don't even try to guess. The mustached man wanted to do exactly what the boy was doing right then. The old man could never have done it, but someone was. This polka-dotted shirt kid was doing it well. So maybe the old man had misunderstood the world his whole life. Even if this old world was more wonderful than he'd imagined. Maybe there was still hope, some kind of hope, in which these things would keep happening, especially on Mondays in Libertyburg. Before the old man could gasp and shout, Roderick had already passed him, heading toward trees and cornfields, eggsy, suit fully numb. After breaking through countless stalks, he reached something like a big factory. Rex had stepped on its fence and sparked massive electrical shorts. Then an air car flew at them. It could have been red and fast, and Roderick pictured it, as if he'd seen it yesterday. It could have dived through the air aiming at Rex's head, and after crashing into him, said, "God, that's a big dinosaur. You tried to ram a big dinosaur, you little punk." Then the attacker might have pulled up and vanished, trying again later. Roderick watched him fly off after Rex had smacked him. Then the sky returned to a brilliant, cold blue with clean, surgical white clouds drifting across it. He had never seen a better sky, and probably never would, because skies just couldn't look any better. Then he noticed a surveillance helicopter circling above, filming his face for triple proof, and he made a grimace. A blonde, unnaturally straight-haired kid raised a hand and asked, "Did he kill a lot of people?" The training cyborg cut off his lecture. "Certainly not. because during the late Cretaceous period in North America, there were no humans. Human evolution hadn't even started. Was it him? Asked a plain girl, pointing at Rex. The Tyrannosaurus shook his head. Not this one, in terms of offspring. Explained the cyborg. Destruction is decomposition, and both he and his creator caused it. He destroyed, but his creator, even more so. Rex wouldn't have done this in his existence if he weren't made to defy social norms. No other sentient being could have done what he did, but some might have created a giant dinosaur just for the aesthetics. "I'm purple," interrupted Rex. "I came to this conclusion because I'm older and maybe my vision is dulled. Look." He bent and clapped his disproportionately small hands. Dust fell from his skin, leaving dark patches, and it shone like a faded cherry. "You're not purple," scolded the cyborg, "and you shouldn't speak of what you are. I'd call that shade light mauve," the female assistant added helpfully. The cyborg turned to her and continued, "Do you think they'll mind if I start over? I fear I've lost track." "You shouldn't interrupt," the assistant scolded a small girl. During the early Tertiary, in the Upper Eocene, the Marathers, ancestors of elephants, were the size of small hippos. Mumbled Rex. What do they feed him?" A small boy waved excitedly. "Mostly tofu. It's good for him," said the cyborg, glancing at Rex, who looked clearly displeased. "Needs to eat a whole aircar load of it daily. Also, large doses of soy protein and bean curd. I'd rather eat hippos," Rex said to the boy. He always joked like that when kids rode him. "Ho, ho! He's only joking," the cyborg reassured the children, then raised the assistant's hand to check her watch. "I could tell you more, kids, but I'll continue the lecture during the ride. Otherwise, we'll be late." The cyborg and his assistant opened Rex's paddock gate and stepped outside, accompanied by the little boys and girls, while most of the children remained by the Tyrannosaurus, petting the thick, rough skin above his experimental fingers. Others had gone behind Rex's sleeping hangar to wrestle a huge pentafoam saddle, model, disgusting basket, and a folding ladder. They brought it, managed to strap it onto Rex's shoulders, despite the well-meant interference of 4 kids. Roderick joined in, helping lift the saddle, loosening and tightening the straps so it wouldn't slip to one side. "Thank you," said the cyborg's assistant. "Have I seen you here before?" "No." "First time?" The boy shook his head. "That's how it usually goes. I mean, most men who have themselves together, though it's usually just one." "Hay has to lie down," said the training cyborg, "so we can mount this on him. Then if he lies down again, the kids won't need the ladder." "Ah, Rex is sitting down again." "I'm so fat," mumbled the Tyrannosaurus. "Must be all that good tofu I eat." One by one, the children climbed the ladder. The cyborg's assistant stood nearby, ready to catch anyone who slipped, warning each to hold the handrails and buckle their safety belts once seated. She and the cyborg climbed up last. Then the cyborg summarized the lecture, and Rex stood up with a grunt and slowly began his 12th daily lap around the zoo. This day should be considered a failure, Roderick thought. A bright and shining failed day, more beautiful than all the ones before it. The steady, cheerful wind blew directly under the sunbeams. He wore jeans, a cap with the Pretoria White Sox emblem, and a polka-dot shirt. When the wind wasn't strong, he kept his air bike lower, then climbed onto Rex's shoulders and waited for him to knock over one of the barns with closed doors. "Okay now," said the training cyborg. "Any final questions?" Roderick looked up, just in time to see the white saddle's corner, model, disgusting basket, disappear behind Rex's sleeping hanger. "Yes," he raised his hand. "What happened to the boy?" "The government took responsibility for his upbringing and education," the cyborg explained. "He received sensitive training and re-socialization and became a responsible citizen." When the cyborg, his assistant, and the children left, Rex said, "You know, I always wondered what happened to you." Roderick wiped the sweat from his forehead and replied, "You knew who I was all along, didn't you?" "Probably." Silence fell. Somewhere far away, as if from another time or another world, the excited chatter of children could be heard, accompanied by the growl of a lion. "Nothing has happened to me," said Roderick, because he had to say something. "I've grown up, that's all. Those transformative machines that really work with you. That's what I hear. No, I've grown up. That's it." "I see. Can I ask you, why do you keep looking at me the same way as before?" "I was just thinking." "About what?" "About nothing." With his iron hands, steel shoulders, and legs, the words shook the gates of his heart and were forced out of his mouth. "Your kind still rules the earth." "Really?" Rex nodded. He turned, leaving before the boy's gaze his dragon, like tail and wide, cresting back, colored like the skin of a grape, chewed and spat into the dust. "Really?" he muttered. "You too?"